Well, I started as a young boy. I was working for a butcher on Front Street. And that was when I was about 8 years old. That was just before, right after my father died. And my mother had about 5, 6 other kids. And I was one of them. But I started working for this butcher. And I was working there in the mornings and go to school in the afternoon. So after I got of age, I guess around 10, 15 years old, I got a job to the cafeteria out there at the International Paper Company. And I worked there for a while. And when the war started in 1942, I think it was, they told me that they were hiring a lot of people in Wilmington, North Carolina. They had a camp out there, and they was building that camp up. So they were hiring some people out there. So a group of us, about 4 or 5 of us, we went to North Carolina and got a job there at that camp, building barracks, Army barracks. And my mother called me one day and told me that they were hiring the International Paper Company for me to come home. And I came home and went over there to the International. And I got signed up and got a job, and I went to work the next day, I believe it was. And that was in 1943. And I believe it was in July of 1943. And that October of 1943, that's when I got drafted in the Navy. And from there, I went to Chicago at Great Lakes, Illinois. And we took our basic training at Great Lakes. After basic training, I think that was, we stayed there about 8 weeks. We came home during that Christmas time. And after finishing basic training, we were supposed to report back after Christmas. Reporting back after Christmas, that's when we went overseas. I think we went to San Diego on a troop train from Columbia, South Carolina. And it must have took us about 5 or 6 days to get out there in California. A little longer than that, I believe, because we rode through Texas for about 3 or 4 days. Seeing nothing but on a troop train, you know, we went by the byways. And seeing nothing but cattle farms and whatnot. Hardly ever see any people, anything like that. And after we got to San Diego, that's when we aboard the troop ship and we went overseas. And I think that I remember we went over there in the USS Arkansas. And that battleship had a wooden deck. I'll never forget that. It had a wooden deck. And we stayed out there for about 30 days after crossing the equator and whatnot. We had initiation when we crossed the equator. And I got seasick. And I was sick about 3 or 4 days. And after that 4th day, I got up and I was all right then on the ship. Of course, it was still rough at sea, but I was all right. I got over the seasick. And we went to this island over there at Tulagi. It's right off of Guadalcanal, from what I was told. And we stayed out there for about 17 months. And on that island, we had work duties. We had to work with I think they had some British natives on that island who they used to come to the island. And most likely we had to work with them a little, you know, wasn't too stringent work or nothing like that. But mostly we were securing that island. That's what we was there for, I think. And most of our food, I believe, the meat especially, it came from Australia, from what I was told. and that was mostly lamb and veal. And we had some beef, but there was always, it was a thing going around in the barrack that it wasn't, cow, it was horse meat. And they had that thing going around in the barracks there because it had a lot of blood in it. It was red. But most of our meat was veal and lamb. And I was telling the librarian just a while ago that we used to get the dry apples and raisins and the yeast from the cafeteria and make homebrew out of it. And we'll mix it up with water and put it in an old refrigerator out there in the sun. Well, it was hot out there in the Southwest Pacific. And we'll put it in that refrigerator out there in the sun and let it stay there for about 30 days. And we'll drain it off, drain that dry fruit off. And that was our home brew. And we would do that at the end of the month. It was payday at the end of the month. So we just like it was payday in the States there, We go out and have a good time drinking home brew, But we weren't going away on that island. So our pastime is mostly, well, we had the Coral Sea was there, and we did a lot of swimming in the Coral Sea. That was beautiful water, you can look down there and see the fishes, or whatever. But it was clear, beautiful. And we used to love going out there swimming. Well, we played a little softball and ping pong, volleyball, and that type of stuff, just to pass the time away. But I think our main duty was to occupy that island. And after that 17 months, we boarded a troop ship and came on back to the States. And I got seasick again, about 4 or 5 days. And after that 5th day, I was all right. And we came back, I think we came back in San Diego. And on the sea ship, back up a little bit. Now, when we were going overseas, those fellas did a lot of gambling on the ship. And of course, I was not a gambler. I usually watch the game, but I'm not a gambler. So I used to do a lot of watching. But they would gamble on that ship, and I mean gamble for big money. And they gambled going over there. But now when we were coming back to the States, it was a lot of gambling, but it wasn't no gambling for money. They were gambling with cigarettes. That was the funny thing. Going over there, we were gambling with money. But coming back to the States, they were gambling with cigarettes. Red Cross was always there when we board a ship, and they'll give us about a carton or two of cigarettes. And I'll never forget the brand, Old Gold. That was the name of the cigarettes. And we had a lot of cigarettes. We didn't have to buy. But cigarettes would cost you about 50 cents a carton at the canteen. So they were gambling with a lot of cigarettes coming back to the States. When we got back to the States, and we all of us went home for, I guess, for 30 days. And we had to report back to our nearest federal site, and mine was in Charleston. So after that 30 days, I went to Charleston, and I did a lot of painting of the ships in Charleston until I was discharged. And after I think they had a point system during that time. And after the point system, I got up to that point system, then I was discharged. I think I was discharged in March of 1946, I believe it was. And after that discharge, I came back home, and International gave me 30 days after I was discharged to report back to work. And I report back to work after that 30 days to International. And I've been there ever since until I retire in 1991. Well, it was segregated during that time, because like I told the Liberian, the Navy, most blacks in the Navy were steward mates. He was cooks or waiters during that time, before I went in there. And if I can remember clearly, Billy Kahn and Joe Louis fought a fight, and the proceeds from that fight, they gave it to the Navy. And that when they started recruiting black seamen in the Navy. And I think it's a group from Georgetown went before I did. And most of them I think they went to Great Lakes. And it was 2 camps in Great Lakes, Camp Moffett and Camp Lawrence. And I went to Camp Lawrence, and that's where I took my basic training at. But the Navy was segregated before they gave that fight. And I think Truman was president during that time, if I'm not mistaken. And they integrate the Navy. That's when they allowed seamen in the Navy during that time. No, because I knew several of them. They went to Camp Moffett. Several blacks I've seen went to Camp Moffett. But I went to Camp Lawrence, and we had a black instructor. He was a petty officer. I forgot his name now, but he was a petty officer, and he was a drill sergeant, as they say. And he used to get up early, and we used to get up early in the morning, and we used to run alongside the lake, before breakfast in the morning. And it was cold. That's around in October, November, in 1943. And I mean, it was cold in Chicago during that time. But then we would, drill during the daytimes, and we drill with those dummy rifles. We didn't have no real rifles, it was just dummy rifles, And after we finished that basic training, I don't think, if I remember, I don't believe we had a live rifle and ammunition in our hands during the whole time. So when we went to this island here, Tulagi, we were behind the line, and I think they were fighting in Guam and Saipan during that time. It already went through Guadalcanal. That's when a lot of Marines got slaughtered down in Guadalcanal, I was told. And so we didn't have no live, real guns or live ammunition. And the island was safe. We didn't have no problem over there. This was all black unit when I went in there. I don't even remember mixing in the Navy while I was there. Because when we came back here, I don't even remember mixing in Charleston, mostly blacks. And black seamen. And so it was, in other words, it was all segregated during that time, because when I was over to the mill there, it was segregation. Black fountain and a white fountain. Black restroom and a white restroom when I went there. And when I left and went into service, it was still the same thing. When I came back, it was still the same, until the integration came along, and then they did away with it. I was accustomed to it because that's the only thing I knew during that time. And I knew a lot of this, it was kind of disadvantage was taken during that time, because I don't know whether I could have changed anything, but you could see a lot of it. But at 18 and 19 years old, it didn't bother me too much. No, it didn't bother me until I got older and see the the disadvantage. but it didn't bother me. But a lot of that was going on. Oh yeah, we improved a lot since then, but we still have a lot, a lot more to do. But a lot of improvement have been made. You have to start at a younger age, and a lot of things we have to do at a younger age take a lot of personal responsibility. People is people, to me. People is people. We got some bad one in each one of the races, and that's the way I look at it. I try to get along with everybody, and the ones who I can't get along with, I just don't bother. I have worked International Paper Company. I worked down here for 48 years, and I have had as high as 13 whites working under me, 1 or 2 blacks. I treat them all alike. Treat that black fellow over there the same as I treat his whites. And I'll tell him in a minute, I don't look at color. We want the work done. And I think they see that in me, so they respect me as that. But I could talk to anybody, hold a conversation with them. Being on that island, at 18 and 19 years old, and you know what most people think at that age, and a lot of things I forgot about, We were just, just freely going along. What happened, We took everything for granted, and just looking for the next day. And we felt like we were safe because, like I said, we didn't have no real gun or live ammunition. And we didn't think the federal government would send us over there to be slaughtered with no protection or nothing like that. And we felt safe. And we just over there having a good time. And we were just right there on that island. We couldn't go nowhere hardly. And like they had a hospital up there. I told him we had a hospital up the road there. And now and then we see jeeps passing by going to the hospital, but that was off duty for us. We couldn't go down there. We had to stay right there on that island.